Full story. A cold billionaire discovered his maid's hidden dance. What followed was life-changing. Thomas Hayes stood in his sleek, modern penthouse, watching the vibrant streets of Chicago below. The bright nightlife buzzed with energy as skyscrapers kissed the starry sky, but within those walls, he felt a chilling void. At 35, he was a billionaire, yet his world was painted in dull gray, consumed by high-stakes deals that drowned out the real colors of life. His gaze fell on Elena, his maid, as she hurried around tidying up, a flicker of life in her swift movements. Her struggle deepened his detachment, a reminder of what he'd never truly faced, the harsh realities of life that lay beneath the surface of wealth. One evening, while Thomas was lost in spreadsheets and stock charts, he heard music. Soft yet passionate, it echoed through the penthouse. Curiosity piqued, he followed the sound and halted at the door to his private lounge. There, Elena spun and twirled, pouring her heart into a breathtaking dance routine. Sweat glistened on her brow as she danced as if the world around her vanished. In that moment, he felt raw emotion swell in his chest, something he hadn't felt in years. It was as if every business deal, every moment of isolation crumbled away. He truly saw her, not just a maid, but a woman filled with dreams, with talent that radiated from her every movement. When she finished, their eyes locked, and realization washed over both of them. He wished to bridge the gap, but how? Before he could express his desire to help her, insecurity gripped Thomas. Would she see him for the billionaire he was, or the person he longed to be? "I saw your dance," he stammered, nerves bubbling up as he tried to muster a connection. "You're exceptional." Misunderstanding his intentions, Elena's eyes hardened. She couldn't accept help from someone so far above her. In her mind, this wasn't mentorship, it was just another personal betrayal masked as charity. Thomas felt the walls of his own making erect between them. Days later, the air crackled with tension as they attended a community event designed to showcase local talent. Elena had finally summoned the courage to perform, hoping to share her story with anyone who would listen. Thomas sat in the audience, heart pounding, wanting to cheer her on, but feeling the weight of the unspoken words between them. As she took the stage, vulnerability dripped from each movement. The crowd hushed, expecting entertainment, yet Elena poured her struggles and hopes into her dance. It was more than performance. It became a raw confrontation of their worlds, the economic divide, the stigma of their roles, as she moved to share her truth. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The audience was captivated, eyes wide, hearts aching. Thomas felt the emotional chasm between them widen, both questioning their hopes and intentions. Each beat of the music drew them closer, yet it felt like they were the only two people in a bustling room filled with strangers. Would this moment of profound vulnerability lead to a singular unity, or would it be a fracture that tore them apart forever? As Elena danced, with every leap and gesture, the backdrop of her struggles became vivid for all to see. Who would rise to the occasion? Would Thomas overcome the invisible barriers that kept them apart? With a powerful crescendo, both characters stood on the brink of revelation, staring into an uncertain yet hopeful future. As Elena completed her performance, applause erupted from the audience, a cascade of appreciation washing over her. She stood there, breathless, heart racing, feeling a mixture of pride and vulnerability. For a moment it felt like triumph, yet, amidst the cheers, she caught sight of Thomas. His eyes were filled with something she couldn't quite decipher, an intensity, mixed with longing. It sent a shiver down her spine. Once the spotlight dimmed, the reality of the moment settled in. The truth of her life clashed with the comfort of the applause, leaving her both exhilarated and fearful. She hurried off the stage, heart pounding still, but this time from the sting of uncertainty. Would they really understand her? Did it matter if they did? She felt like a phantom, slipping through the cracks of a world where she didn't truly belong. Thomas stood still in the audience, feeling a rush of admiration both for her bravery and her talent. But more than that, he felt an overwhelming sense of regret. He realized that his words of encouragement had come too late. He had allowed fear and insecurity to hold him back, and now he had missed his chance to support her when it mattered the most. As Elena slipped past him, he called out, "Elena, wait!" The urgency in his voice surprised even him. She paused, looking over her shoulder, those expressive eyes filled with a mix of curiosity and reluctance. What you did up there was incredible," he continued, closing the distance between them. "It was more than just a dance. You told us your story. I was captivated." Her expression softened slightly, but mistrust laced her features. "It was just a performance." "You don't understand," she replied, taking a step back. "No," he insisted, his voice earnest. "You're right, I don't. But I want to. I need to know you, Elena. Not as my maid, not as someone to enrich my home, but as you, the dancer, the artist." The weight of his words hung heavily in the air. She could see he was sincere, yet vulnerability was a tough wall to break down for someone who had long been labeled by their social status. "Why do you care?" she asked, her voice steadier than her heart. "What's in it for you?" "Maybe I've spent too long in my own world distracted by money and power. Seeing you tonight made me realize how much I've lost," Thomas said, vulnerability showing through the cracks of his facade. "I can't change your life, but you can teach me to change mine. Let me help you pursue your dreams." For a fleeting moment, a flicker of hope ignited in Elena's chest. But then, doubt crashed in like a storm. Can a billionaire really know her struggles? Can he bridge the gap between their worlds? Before she could respond, the audience members began to gather, clamoring for Elena's attention, some wanting to praise her, others seeking photos. She felt overwhelmed, drowning in the pressure. "I need to think," Elena said, her voice almost lost in the chaos around. She turned and walked away, heart heavy. The applause faded into a dull roar as she slipped backstage, leaving Thomas standing there, hands trembling, questioning how his wealth had never brought him true happiness. As he looked around, a sense of urgency enveloped him. He had to find her, to show her he was more than just a cold billionaire. Could he follow her into a world where he might finally feel alive? In the days that followed, as the memories of the performance replayed like a haunting melody, both of their lives were about to change in ways they hadn't imagined. What risks would they take to confront their fears? The flickering light of possibilities loomed ahead, drawing them closer to their destinies. But would they take the leap into the unknown, or would the shadows of their pasts hold them back? The clock was ticking. Elena found herself sitting at the edge of her small bed, staring at the wall where whispers of dreams once danced. The sounds of applause echoed in her mind, but now the reality of the aftermath crept in, heavy and suffocating. She felt the weight of expectations pressing down on her chest, the mixed emotions swirling like a storm. She had always loved to dance. It was her escape, her truth, the only time she felt truly alive. Yet tonight, for the first time, it felt like a double-edged sword, as if sharing a part of her soul had opened a wound that wouldn't heal. She pressed her palms against her cheeks, willing the warmth of the performance to return. The thrill of the audience was now overshadowed by the fear of true intimacy, of letting someone in. Meanwhile, Thomas drifted through the lavish halls of his home, grasping for clarity in the chaos of his feelings. Each corner reminded him of his loneliness. The walls seemed to close in, magnifying his internal struggle. He thought about Elena's dance, and how she had captivated everyone. More so, he felt her story a story he had only briefly touched but yearned to delve deeper into. "Why am I even here?" he murmured to himself, glancing toward the grand window that overlooked the city. It appeared bright and carefree, yet he felt imprisoned in his own life. As he looked out, the street turned into a blur of moving lives, each one unaware of the secrets lurking behind his facade. He needed to find her. He needed to offer her something more than applause or shallow words. The idea of sharing his world with her was both thrilling and terrifying. How could he bridge the gap between their lives? With renewed determination, he made a plan. It was now or never. He pulled out his phone, fingers hovering over the screen. He had a contact for someone who worked at the venue. The thought of orchestrating a chance meeting felt foolish, but the urge to seek her out burned through him. As he hit send, he suddenly questioned what he even intended to say. What if she refused him? What if he only succeeded in pushing her further away? These thoughts swirled in head, sending panic rippling through his chest. Meanwhile, Elena stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the fabric of her dance dress, contemplating her choices. The applause had ignited a faint spark of hope that was countered by self-doubt. Friend or foe? She wished for someone to understand her, to see beyond her role in his world. The constant tug-of-war in her mind forced her to confront a truth she had been trying to avoid. She hungered for more than a simple life of chores and menial tasks. She gripped the fabric tighter, as if forcing a transformation, a bridge between her two worlds. The next day arrived with a bright promise, and as she pulled open the curtains, sunlight spilled into her room. But it wasn't enough. She felt restless. Hours later, while rehearsing in a nearby studio, Elena received a text from an unknown number. A heartbeat later, recognition crashed into her thoughts, and she froze. It was Thomas, asking if they could meet. The invitation made her pulse quicken, stirring butterflies in her stomach, mixed with fear. Could this really be the chance for clarity she longed for? Would he truly understand her? Just when she thought she could breathe again, doubt threatened to smother that spark. She stared at the screen, fingers trembling, caught in a moment that could change everything. Would she respond and take that leap into the unknown? Or would she let fear guide her back to the safety of her solitude? The clock was ticking, the next move was hers. Elena took a deep breath, her mind racing with possibilities and uncertainties. She had always been the one to fight through her fears, to dance despite the voices that told her she didn't belong on a stage. Yet, here she stood, paralyzed by the weight of a single text. The sunlight poured into her room, teasing the edges of her doubts, illuminating the path before her. After what felt like hours, the phone buzzed again in her hand, snapping her out of her thoughts. What if this was the moment? What if this was her chance to step off the edge of her safe haven and into the world he offered? Her heart raced with anticipation and dread, the two wrestling inside her like old foes. Okay, Elena, she whispered to herself, finding a faint glimmer of resolve. What do you want? The answer felt tied to Thomas, yet tangled with shadows of her past. The allure of his world beckoned her, shimmering like a mirage, yet she could still feel the chill of the safety net she called home. Swallowing hard, she typed a simple reply, her fingers dancing over the keys with a combination of excitement and fear. Yes, where and when? It felt right. As soon as she hit send, an unexpected flood of relief washed over her. The decision was made. She could feel the knots in her stomach tighten, but she embraced it as a sign of change. As the minutes ticked away, time stretched. The anticipation was a silent storm raging within her. She spent the next hour pacing, rehearsing all the things she might say. Would he smile? Would he see her? But she quickly silenced her mind, knowing that second-guessing would get her nowhere. Just as she prepared to put on her shoes, a new message sparked onto her screen, cutting through the chaos of her thoughts. Let us meet at the cafe near the studio at 3. His words felt both exciting and daunting, setting her heart racing again. She looked at the clock, and the realization hit her like a jolt. Only an hour until everything could change. Could she really do this? Stepping out of her small room, she inhaled deeply, letting the fresh air fill her lungs. As she walked toward the cafe, her heart thumped loudly in her chest, each beat matching her quickening pace. The city buzzed around her, an orchestra of life. She watched people rush by, lost in their own stories, while dread and hope twisted inside her. When she finally reached the cafe, she spotted him almost immediately. Thomas was seated at a table in the corner, his posture a mix of confidence and uncertainty. He was engrossed in his phone, but every so often, he glanced towards the door with what looked like impatience. Elena's heart raced as she approached. His gaze lifted, and their eyes locked. For a fleeting moment, the world fell away, leaving just the two of them suspended in time. He smiled, and it felt warm, like sunlight breaking through the clouds that had been hanging over her. "Hi," he said, his voice low and inviting. "Hi," she managed to reply, her breath catching in her throat. She sat down, her thoughts dancing chaotically. Every second felt consequential, a path that would lead to a choice she hadn't yet fully understood. The connection she felt with him crackled in the air between them, alive and powerful. "What did you want to talk about?" she asked, doing her best to keep her voice steady. Thomas leaned forward slightly, his gaze intent. "There's something about your dance. I want to understand more about you." His words wrapped around her like an embrace, stirring emotions she had kept hidden. But could she truly share her deepest self? Could she let him into the world she had kept locked away for so long? As she searched his eyes, a question lingered in the air, heavy with weight and promise. How much of herself would she be willing to reveal? In that moment, everything rested on the edge of a knife, the inevitability of what would come next both thrilling and terrifying. Would she take the leap and trust him? But before she could answer, the bell over the cafe door jingled, and an unexpected sight caught her eye. Elena's eyes darted to the door, where a tall figure stepped inside. The cafe's warm glow contrasted starkly with the chill emanating from him. It was Jack, Thomas's older brother, known for his sharp suits and even sharper tongue. He stood there, scanning the room with an air of authority, as if he owned the place not just in ownership, but in presence. She felt a jolt of anxiety shoot through her. Jack rarely ventured out of his world of bustling business meetings and high-stakes negotiations, his focus usually locked on profit margins. The last thing she wanted was to get wrapped in the complicated dynamics of the family. She shifted in her seat, torn between the welcome warmth of Thomas and the storm Jack carried. "Hey," Thomas said, his voice dropping slightly as if caught off guard. "I didn't expect to see you here." Elena's heart raced. She could see the tension in Thomas's shoulders as he made a half-hearted attempt to hide it. Jack approached their table, his eyes sharp and knowing. "Nice to see you, Thomas. And you must be Elena," Jack said, extending a hand. "I've heard a lot about you." His tone was disarming, but the undertone had a chill to it, like a gust of wind before a storm. Elena hesitated but shook his hand, her mind racing. How much had he heard? What did he know about her world? She wanted to break the ice, but her voice faltered. "It's nice to meet you," she managed. Jack's gaze lingered on her, evaluating. "I can see why Thomas is interested in you," he said, his smile polite yet predatory. "But I suggest being careful. This world can swallow you whole." Thomas immediately jumped in. "Jack, that's enough." His tone was protective, but frustration flickered beneath it. "Elena is talented, and she's not just a part of this family business." Elena sensed the shift in energy. She felt like a fragile thing caught in the imbalance of power between these two brothers. Thomas's steeliness offered her comfort, but Jack's intensity made her skin crawl. "Talent, huh?" Jack said, his voice dripping with skepticism. "I hope you're not just another pretty face, Elena. Thomas has a thing for chasing dreams. Just remember, dreams don't always pay the bills." An uncomfortable silence settled over them. Thomas shot his brother a fierce look, but Elena felt herself shrinking. Why did this feel like a test? Would Thomas stand up for her? Would he continue to see her as more than just a passing interest? "I know what I want," she asserted, surprising herself. "And that's to dance. To share it. I'm not here to fulfill someone else's expectations." Thomas's eyes flicked toward her, surprise mixing with admiration. There was strength in her voice, a fierceness she had almost forgotten was there. She had fought for what she wanted before, and she could do it again. Jack raised an eyebrow, but the glimmer of amusement didn't hide the edge of caution. "Just watch your back, Elena. It's a jungle out here." With that, he turned to leave, casting one last scrutinizing glance back at them, lingering on Thomas. Elena felt the weight lift slightly as Jack exited, but the tension was palpable. "I'm sorry about him," Thomas said, his voice softened again, a familiar kindness returning. He thinks he knows everything. It's okay, Elena replied, shaking off the encounter. Just surprised, I guess. Let us get back to you, Thomas said, refocusing. You were telling me about your dance. Elena took a deep breath, her resolve solidifying. I want to share my story with you, the struggles, the dreams I have. But I hope you'll see me for me, not just as some entertainment. His eyes locked onto hers, sincere and fierce. I want to know you completely. But just as she coordinated her thoughts and braced herself to dive deeper, the cafe door swung open again, drawing her attention. This time, a group of dancers stepped in, their laughter ringing like music. They wore dance gear, vibrant and confident, embodying everything she aspired to be, a part of something bigger. In that moment, a spark of fear and excitement fluttered in her chest. Would she really step beyond her comfort zone? Or would the connection with Thomas be overshadowed by Jack's warning and the reality of her own doubts? As she exhaled, she pondered her next move. What if this was her chance to embrace all that she feared? The path ahead looked murkier now than ever, but one thing was clear. One choice could shift everything. But would she be bold enough to take it? Elena's thoughts were interrupted by the infectious energy that filled the cafe as the group of dancers swirled in. They exuded confidence, laughing and chatting like they owned the world. Each of them moved with a lightness that seemed to lift the very air around them, and as they flowed past, she felt herself drawn in, mesmerized by their joyful spirits. See? That's what it's all about, Thomas remarked, his voice low yet excited, pulling her attention back to him. He leaned in closer, a smile breaking the tension from just moments before. Those are the dancers I was telling you about. They're part of the local company, very talented. I've been meaning to introduce you. Elena's heart raced at the thought. You think I could? What if I talked to them? The words tumbled out before fear could grip her tightly. Would they see her as just a novice? Or worse, would they overlook her passion because she wasn't from their world? Of course, Thomas encouraged, the warmth of his belief igniting a flicker of bravery within her. You should. No one starts at the top, Elena. Everyone has a story. She watched in awe as the dancers moved seamlessly towards the back of the cafe, their laughter echoing like music notes, carefree and full of life. She took a deep breath, her resolve pinching at the edges of doubt. Could she really step forward like they did? Thomas seemed to sense her hesitation. You have a unique story, and your passion for dance is powerful. Don't let Jack's words get to you. Let that fire within you shine. His encouragement was like pulling on a loose thread that unraveled a tapestry of potential. If she didn't leap, would she always regret it? She shaped her breath into a firm decision. Okay, she said, her own excitement buzzing in her chest. I'll go say hi. As Elena pushed herself from her seat, the distance between her and the group shrank. Every step felt like a small victory over the anxiety that clawed at her resolve. Still, doubt lingered, a shadow whispering that she didn't belong. Just as she reached the dancers, one of them, a tall girl with a short bob and bright blue leg warmers, turned to her with a welcoming smile. Hey! You're here for the dance workshop, right? It should be really fun. Elena's cheeks flushed with a mix of embarrassment and excitement. Actually, I just wanted to come and see if I could join in. The dancer's eyes sparkled. Absolutely. We're always open to new faces. I'm Mia, by the way. Come on in. Encouraged by Mia's warmth, Elena felt the tension seep away, replaced by a rush of hope. Could this be the moment she had been waiting for? With Mia's hand leading her deeper into the group, Elena felt herself melting into the rhythm. Conversations bubbled around her, energy surged as the dancers shared stories of their struggles, their triumphs. She was no longer an outsider, she was part of something. But in the periphery, a sense of unease nudged at her. Jack's words haunted her. This world can swallow you whole. Suddenly, the vibrancy felt overshadowed by doubt. What if the warmth she felt was fleeting? Just then, Thomas pushed through the throng and approached her, a wide grin on his face. See? I told you they'd welcome you. Before she could respond, a sudden commotion erupted. Another dancer had stumbled and fallen, and a hush fell over the group in concern. As they rushed to help, a crack of noise echoed in her chest, an echo of camaraderie, a reminder of the stakes. Elena held her breath, her hopes balanced on the precipice. Would this connection prove stronger than the warnings echoing in her mind? Would she seize her moment, or would she retreat back into the shadows? In the buzzing cafe, surrounded by laughter and warmth, she stood at the crossroads, desperate to embrace the new once more. But the question remained, in a world that seemed to thrive on competition, could her voice really resonate amid the noise? "Now's your chance," Thomas whispered, urging her forward. Gathering every ounce of courage, Elena took a step towards the dancers, feeling the heat of determination rise within her. But then, somewhere deep inside her, an instinct whispered that this wasn't just about her story. There were others, hidden battles waiting to unfold, realities that could either break or bind them all together. She felt the weight of anticipation rest on her shoulders. Her next words would change everything. Would she be ready to dance not just for herself, but for everyone who held dreams in their hearts? Elena's heart pounded. Would this moment redefine her? Would the truth she feared most become the connection she sought? Elena drew in a breath, scanning the faces of the dancers. Mia stood in front of her, still smiling, while the others tended to their fallen friend, concern etched into their expressions. It was a moment suspended in time, where she could either step forward into the light or retreat back into the shadows of doubt that clung to her like a shroud. Hi. I'm Elena. I love to dance too, she managed to say, her voice quivering but resolute. As soon as the words left her mouth, a mixture of relief and fear washed over her. What if the dancers laughed? What if they welcomed her only to discover her minimal experience? But instead of ridicule, she was met with encouraging nods and smiles. "Nice to meet you," another dancer chimed in, her tone warm and inviting. "Dance is for everyone. It's about the love of movement. No pressure, just joy." Elena felt a spark ignite within her. Joy. That's what she had missed. Dance had always been her escape, a way to express the emotions she couldn't quite communicate. She wanted to reclaim that feeling, and maybe, just maybe, find something more in the process. As the commotion around them quieted down, the fallen dancer, whose name she learned was Chloe, stood up, brushing herself off with a weak smile. "I'm okay, I promise. Just a little trip. Let us keep going." Chloe's resilience resonated with Elena, awakening a deep empathy. It was a testament to everyone in this circle. Struggles exist, but so do comebacks. There was a shared understanding that the journey of self-discovery was rarely smooth, but it was richer when shared. "Can I join you?" Elena asked, feeling the anticipation in her chest swell. Before anyone could respond, Mia nodded enthusiastically. "The more, the merrier. We were just about to start improvising some warm-ups. Just follow our lead." As the music began, the air thickened with excitement. Soft beats pulsed, wrapping around each dancer as they spread out to create space. Each movement felt like a brushstroke on a canvas of sound, colors blending, stories told through movement. Elena felt her body shift, her heart sinking with the rhythm. She let the music pull her in, releasing the fears she had clung to for too long. Her body, though anxious, began to respond naturally, finding its flow in the joy of dance. She was no longer just an observer, she was a participant in an art she longed to be part of. But then, doubt crept back, tugging at her thoughts. Was it really this simple? Could she truly feel disconnected? The smiles and cheers from the others were bright, but were they genuine? A knot of insecurity twisted in her stomach. Just then, Thomas caught her eye from the sidelines, his gaze filled with pride and belief. That gave her another nudge. Maybe they weren't just embracing her dance, they were embracing her story, her vulnerability. After a few more rounds, the music faded, and applause erupted around them. The energy was electric. It was then that Elena felt a shift. A deep connection was forming, not just with the dancers but within herself. "All right. Let us take a quick break," Mia announced, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. The dancers gathered around, laughing and sharing their experiences. Elena stood among them, her heart swelling, finally shattered the glass wall she kept between herself and the world. Then, in the middle of the laughter, a question burned in her mind: was this connection real? Could she maintain it when the music stopped? Before she could ponder further, Chloe leaned in, her voice low. You know, I sensed something special about you when you came in. Have you ever considered that dance might not just be a hobby for you? Elena hesitated, the question echoing in her heart. I've thought about it, but what? Chloe prodded gently. This place could be your home. If you want it to be. As her own uncertainty loomed, a rush of realization hit her. This could be the beginning of a new journey, but it meant facing more than just the dance floor. Elena took a deep breath. Had she finally found the courage to reveal her dreams? As she opened her mouth to respond, the cafe door swung open, and in walked a figure that made her breath catch, a person from her past who could blow this newfound possibility apart. Was she ready for the truth that awaited her? Elena's heart thudded so loudly in her chest that she could hardly hear anything else. The cafe's cozy buzz melted away, morphing into a distant hum. The figure standing just inside the doorway felt like an omen. Alex, her former dance partner, the one who'd shattered her spirit long ago. His presence swallowed her, a tidal wave of old memories crashing into her. How could he be here now? The last time she'd seen him had been on the night everything fell apart. The night she had stepped away from dance, believing the story of her own failures. Hey, Elena, Alex called out warmly, his voice smooth like the jazz she'd once loved, bringing with it a flood of nostalgia. Instantly, the laughter from her newfound friends faded to whispers, and eyes turned toward the unexpected reunion. Elena pictured her comfortable bubble bursting. The insecurity, the memories, the undeniable electricity that had once existed between them swirled inside her. There was a raw pain in the air, a history not easily brushed aside. Alex, she breathed, forcing a shaky smile, her voice barely a whisper. She glanced at Mia, Chloe, and the others, their curious eyes darting between the two of them. Uncertainty flickered within her, as if they could read the turmoil she so desperately wanted to hide. What are you doing here? She managed, though part of her longed to step back into the shadows and sink away. I was in the area and thought I'd stop by, he said, a casual tone that belied the complicated feelings that settled between them. I didn't expect to see you, especially not dancing. His gaze was steady, searching her face as if trying to unravel the strands of the woman he once knew. Did he see the vulnerability lingering beneath her skin? The lengths she had gone to bury her passion. It's a new start, she replied, the words floating softly between them as if they held the weight of 1,000 unsaid thoughts. Alex stepped closer, the crowd receding momentarily. Can we talk? Just for a minute? Elena's heart raced, caught between the warmth of her current connection and the chilling shadow of her past. Did she dare to open that door again? I don't know, please, he implored, his eyes earnest. I want to apologize. I was an idiot, and I want to make things right. Internally, Elena grappled with confusion. Hadn't she just begun to carve a path for herself? The dance floor had felt liberating. But could she really face the man who had contributed to her retreat from it? Chloe took a step forward, a soft nudge to remind Elena she was not alone. You can do this, she whispered, her voice laced with encouragement. Elena's heart fluttered at the thought of asking for support. She realized she had a choice. She could either allow Alex's presence to shatter her newfound strength or stand her ground, empowered by the light she was beginning to reclaim. Okay, she said finally, rising to a challenge she didn't know she was ready for. Let us talk. As they stepped away from the group, a hush fell over the dancers who watched, eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and concern. Would this confrontation invite healing, or was it a path down a hurtful memory lane? With each step toward the exit, a question looped in her mind: what if confronting her past only led to more pain? Outside, the moonlight bathed them both, illuminating the haunting silence left in the wake of her choice. But as they began to speak, the past and present intertwined in a way she never saw coming. Would the conversation rebuild broken connections, Or would it unravel everything she had just begun to stitch together? The night air was cool, wrapping around Elena like a crisp blanket. Her skin tingled as she stepped outside, the cafe's warmth fading fast behind her. She faced Alex, the man who had once been her world and now seemed like a stranger, a ghost from a past she thought she'd left behind. "Thank you for agreeing to talk," he said, his voice softer now, stripped of the bravado he had worn moments earlier. She wanted to reply, but the words clung in her throat. What were they supposed to discuss? The weight of years hung heavy between them. There was a pause, the silence stretched out, awkward yet somehow necessary. The streetlight flickered above them, casting an ethereal glow. Elena glanced into his eyes, searching for a glimpse of the boy who'd danced with her, who'd lifted her spirits and broken her heart. "I've thought about you," he admitted, a hint of vulnerability seeping through his confident facade. "A lot. Especially after everything." His voice faltered at the end. "After everything?" she echoed, her tone sharp. Did he mean all the times he had let her down? All the dreams he had turned to dust? "Yes, after that night," he said, desperation flashing across his features. "When I messed everything up. I never meant to hurt you." Elena sighed deeply, the memories flooding her mind like scenes from a movie. They had shared so much, the laughter, the rehearsals, the dreams of dancing together forever. And then the fall. The heartbreak. "You don't get to just come back and say sorry, Alex. It's not that simple." "I know," he said quickly, holding her gaze. "But I've changed. I've had time to think about my mistakes. I took you for granted, and I've regretted it ever since." Elena shook her head, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. "You think a few words will change the past? I gave up everything to escape that part of my life." "But you're dancing again," he said, his tone shifting to hope. "I saw you tonight, and it was beautiful. You've found your way back to something you love. Isn't that worth celebrating? Please let me be a part of your journey again." Her heart ached at the thought of dancing freely, yet it felt intertwined with memories of him. Even if he had changed, could she trust that he wouldn't hurt her again? She studied his face, seeing the sincerity, the longing for redemption. "I'm not sure I can just let you back in," she whispered, feeling tears sting her eyes. "I'm not who I was, and I can't go back." "I don't want you to go back," he insisted. "I want to help you move forward. Wherever that takes you." Elena took a step back, her mind racing. The once familiar spark stirred within her, battling against the fear of old wounds reopening. "What if you hurt me again? Then I'll take responsibility," he assured her, the promise hanging in the air like a lifeline. "But let me try. Let me show you how I've changed." Just then, a soft wind blew, rustling the leaves above them. It felt like a whisper of hope. Still, doubt lingered. Could she really risk it all again? Elena felt her heart race, uncertainty swirling like a dancer caught between two rhythms. As their eyes locked, a silent invitation hung between them. In the flickering streetlight, she saw a glimpse of a future that could exist or shatter like glass. "Maybe we can start small," she finally said, her voice trembling. "But if we're going to do this, it has to be on my terms." His face broke into a tentative smile, filled with the promise of what could be. "Whatever it takes," he replied, a spark of hope ignited in his eyes. And just like that, Elena found herself at the edge of a choice. Would this be the moment she reclaimed her power, or would it lead to another heartbreak? As they stood in the quiet night, the stars bearing witness, one thought echoed in her mind: could this really be the new beginning she had yearned for, or would it unleash a storm they were both unprepared to face? The next few weeks felt like a whirlwind, a chaotic blend of heart and hope. Elena danced harder than ever, pouring her soul into each performance, her spirit ignited by the connection she was beginning to forge not just with her dance, but also with Thomas and the radically shifting views of her own life. With Alex, their tentative reunion gave her a sense of power she hadn't anticipated. Slowly, they began to rebuild a connection, but in her heart, she knew they were treading carefully on a fragile bridge. Each conversation was a step, one carefully calculated, while memories of the past lingered in the shadows. Meanwhile, Thomas became a steadfast presence in her life. His encouragement was a balm that soothed old wounds. He understood her struggle, and his support offered a glimpse of a world where dreams could flourish. They met often, discussing dance, ambitions, and the tug-of-war between their worlds. Each encounter brought them closer, a burgeoning friendship filled with unspoken possibilities. "Elena," Thomas said one evening, his tone earnest, "I want you to perform at a gala event I'm hosting. It could be your breakthrough." The baritone of his voice was pure conviction, and it sent shivers of excitement through her. "Really?" she gasped, hope blossoming as they sat in his penthouse, a cityscape glittering behind him, reminiscent of the stage she longed to conquer. "Yes. It's a charity gala for local artists, and it aims to showcase talent like yours. I believe in you," he added, his gaze steady, as if anchoring the winds of doubt circulating in her heart. But the weight of his offer pressed against her. "What if I fail? What if they laugh?" She found herself murmuring, that ever-looming doubt creeping back. "Then you show them who you are," he replied simply, the fire in his tone reigniting her confidence. The night of the gala arrived, and the tension in Elena's chest spiraled to new heights. Surrounded by elegance and charm, the opulent ballroom brimmed with laughter, glasses clinking, and rich voices buzzing in anticipation. As she stood backstage, the thrum of music pulsed through her, urging her forward. "Just breathe, Mia," a consistent friend among the dancers, whispered before giving her a reassuring smile. With an instilled courage, Elena stepped into the spotlight. The world outside faded as her heartbeat echoed in her ears. The audience watched, captivated, their faces a blur before her. But in that moment, the justifications and doubts peeled away. This was her moment, a chance to reclaim her story, unfurl her dreams, and dance not just for herself, but for everyone who had ever ached and longed for recognition. The music enveloped her, carrying her into a rhythm she owned. Each movement flowed like liquid, twisting and turning, a reflection of her journey, pain, resilience, and transformation woven seamlessly into one. She connected with every soul in the room, her dance speaking the unshared language of dreams, hopes, and fears. When the final note faded, applause erupted like thunder, drowning out the whispers of self-doubt that had once plagued her. The cheers washed over her, a wave of acceptance, a collective breath of appreciation for her artistry. Heart racing, she glanced toward Thomas, whose face glowed with awe and pride. In that moment, everything crystallized. She was not just the maid, nor merely Alex's past weighed down by expectations. She was a dancer, an artist, an individual worthy of the spotlight. Later, as the crowd dispersed, Thomas found her backstage. "That was incredible. You owned it." His excitement matched the flush on her cheeks. "Thank you," she replied, her heart still racing from the performance. "You believed in me." "And you believed in yourself," Thomas added softly, a knowing smile on his face, making her cheeks warm. "This is just the beginning." With newfound courage flowing through her veins, Elena felt a shift within, a realization dawning. She no longer needed to seek validation. She was enough. Outside, the night hugged her with a gentle breeze. As she took a deep breath, familiar laughter made her turn. There was Alex, watching with admiration. "I've never seen you shine like that," he admitted, regret twinkling in his eyes. "Thank you," she said, composing herself. "But it's a new chapter now. I'm not the same person, and I hope you can understand that." "Totally," he nodded, acceptance etching his features. "I just want a chance, even as a friend, to support you if you'll let me." As unsure as she felt, a flicker of curiosity sparked within her. A dance built on trust, friendship, and the promise of something different stirred in her, beneath the budding warmth of connection. She didn't have all the answers, but she felt invigorated. "Okay," she said, a cautious smile blooming. "Let us see where this goes." In that moment, the ground beneath them shifted. The balance was no longer merely about wounding and healing. It was about growth, understanding, and seizing the beauty of shared dreams. The past wouldn't vanish, but it wouldn't define her. Instead, it would weave its colors into her canvas, gifting her a more profound connection to her art and the people around her. Together, they walked under the star-strangled sky, Elena feeling lighter, free, a dancer ready to embrace whatever came next. This was her life. A vibrant tapestry of hope, friendships, and endless possibilities, ready to unfold with each step she dared to take. And as they embraced the night, Elena knew one thing for certain: she would dance fiercely, unapologetically, owning every heartbeat, every scar, every dream. Would you stand with her? Don't wait another moment, proclaim your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel for more exclusive stories of transformation. Leave a like now to show you appreciate these journeys and to feed the algorithm that makes it all possible. Comment below with your thoughts, feelings, and reactions to this electrifying ending. And share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to hear this message about hope, resilience, and seizing life's moments. This is the moment to show you care.